Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I am going to be talking about, specifically, I'm going to talk about asking versus, I'm going to defend not asking questions, okay? All right, so let's get into it. So recently, I was listening to a podcast, and I heard some very smart people talking about asking each other, are you an asker or are you a guesser? And what they were defining is, are you the kind of person who just asks for whatever they want, and from anyone at any time, and questions and requests are coming out of their mouth constantly, okay? Or are you a guesser? Do you look at that person and say, I'm guessing this person is going to be able to give me the information, or they're willing to give me that information, or they're willing to give me the thing I want for my request, okay? An asker or a guesser. And it was a really interesting question. And I thought about it, and I was shamed for a little while because I realized, and everybody on the podcast is like, asker, that's the way to go. Be an asker, right? And one person, admitted they were a guesser, right? But they didn't really, they said it shamefully. Just the way I thought, I realized, I'm definitely a guesser. I'm not an asker. And I thought about it, and I was like a little bit ashamed that I was a guesser. I was like, I should be more of an asker. Then I thought about it, and this talk today is the coalescing of my thoughts on this. I am going to defend today people who do not ask questions as a habit. They are guessers. They think about the person they're going to ask, and they say, is this person likely to have the information I need? Are they willing to say yes? And if they think the answer is no, they're not going to ask that question, okay? Now, I think a lot of people out there are like, it's a bad life model. It doesn't work, right? Well, this is my life model. This is the way I live, right? I'm a guesser. I don't ask. I don't like asking people for anything, right? And so I'm going to defend not asking questions. Here's why. Okay, so one, I'm going to use a memory palace trick to remember all my speaking points. Sally Field standing on a scale with coins coming out of her mouth. Okay, we're going to get to that in a minute. First, I'm going to talk about questions. Okay, so one, questions are they're a data call. Okay, so I'm going to use a coding term there. Right, you're calling for data. You're making a call to get data back to you. They are a query for information, okay? Questions. So everybody understands that part about questions, right? But I think there's a big thing that people don't understand about questions. Questions every single question carries at least one packet of information. And I think often they carry way more than that to the person who's been asked. So questions carry information, a lot of information, to the person who is being asked the question, okay? The receiver of the question. So that at minimum, this packet of data is given with every question, okay? That question is saying to the person you're asking, I am one of the following things. I am ignorant, I am lazy, or I am arrogant, okay? Now, when I say ignorant, I need to define that term, because I think the term ignorant, a lot of people understand it to mean brash or rude, okay? I don't mean the term ignorant in any way to mean brash or rude or uncouth. I mean it to mean I do not have knowledge. There is knowledge I am lacking. I am ignorant. I think that very closely fits the classical definition of the word ignorant, and that is the best thing you can be saying with a question. I lack knowledge. I am ignorant, okay? That's the best of the three options. The second one is I'm lazy or I'm arrogant, okay? Now, why do I say that a question can tell people that you're lazy or you're arrogant? Well, we're going to get into that as I talk about the memory palace items. All right, Sally Field, standing on a scale with coins coming out of her mouth, okay? The coins coming out of her mouth. Let's talk about that, okay? Time is the most valuable thing in the world, period. End of sentence, okay? For human beings, in my opinion, there's absolutely nothing worth more than time. Not land, not money, not jewels, not, there's nothing, right? Perhaps the people, yeah, probably the people on Earth. There's no non-people thing that's worth more than time. I think people are worth more than time. But generally, every tangible thing that's not a person is not worth time. Okay? Time is the most valuable thing. And one of the reasons why is you can't get it back. You can't get back time. You have a very specific allotment of time on this earth. That's all you get. Doesn't matter if you have everything in this world, you can't get 1 second of your life back. Okay, nobody has that ability. So time is incredibly important. So every time you ask somebody a question, you are saying to them, I am willing to take your time. Period. Okay? And that is arrogant. That's saying, my need is worth your time. There's arrogance in that, okay? It might be a tiny bit or it might be a whole lot, okay? Depending on how much, if it's a lot of information or if it's a big ask, there's arrogance in it, right? There's arrogance in every question. There's a possibility of significant arrogance in every question because every question is saying, you have a certain amount of time, I'm going to take some of it right now, right? So that's one of the reasons why I don't ask questions, right? Or I try to do everything I can to avoid asking questions. The ignorance issue is I don't like telling anybody I don't have information or I don't have knowledge. That's crazy, okay? All right. So basically, the coins coming out of your mouth is value. Time is incredibly valuable, right? And when you ask somebody a question, you're taking something from them, right? And that also, it really connects to that arrogance issue because I think people out there are like, well, this is only going to take 5 seconds of your time or 30 seconds of your time. Well, guess what? 5 seconds of my life is valuable to me and people I know and my loved ones. By the way, I need to make a caveat. Everything I'm saying here does not apply to loved ones. So there's a completely different relationship there with loved ones and people you care about and who care about you. And so your questions do not need to follow what I'm saying here for people you love. This is just for people in your life who are not loved ones. Okay? All right. Okay. Let's continue forward. All right. So there's an arrogance that's connected to taking even 5 seconds of somebody's life. Okay? All right. And time is valuable. All right? All right, so what about laziness, right? Why would I say it's lazy? Well, if you ask anyone a question that Google can answer, you're being lazy. You can find that on your phone for free, right? It's just going to take your time. You do your search, comes up, you get your data, and you move on, right? You didn't take anybody's time with them listening to your question and them giving you the answer. And that's if the communication went perfect. If you misunderstand what they said, then you can take more of their time, right? And time is can't say this enough. Time is incredibly precious, right? And one of the things is I respect people and I respect time, and I don't want to take something from someone, and the only people who constantly ask questions without guilt are people who really just have a lower respect for a low value on other people's time and on other people, a lower value on other people's time, right? And on those people themselves because they're taking it. They're saying, my need overrides your use of the time that you have right now for whatever you wanted to do, right? Okay. All right. So laziness is, could you have gotten that data through a source you could read? And are you using a question to not read, right? That there's never a good reason for that. So that's the laziness part, okay? Now, like I said, the ignorance part, that's the best outcome, like that I lack knowledge, right? So let's Sally Fields standing on a scale, right, with coins coming out. I've already spoken to the coins coming out around. Let's talk about Sally Fields, right? The reason why I said Sally Fields is I'm a big fan of Sally Fields. I enjoyed her films. I think she was a really good actress, and I just like seeing her in movies and shows. But the thing I attach to Sally Fields is encouragement. And Sally Fields was an incredibly encouraging lady. And I feel that a culture of asking. Like you're like, oh, I'm going to ask this, 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 right? When you're always asking for stuff, what you are doing is you are encouraging lack of attention and lack of study, right? Because that's another question. That's another thing about laziness. You may be asking a question that person has been asked 1,000,000 times, right? And now, again, you're just taking their time, making them do this rote task, right? So anyway, a culture of asking, where everybody can ask whatever they want at any given time, encourages a lack of attention and a lack of study, right? So why should I pay attention to you now and the things you're saying when I can just ask you later when I want to, and choose what data I get from you at whenever I wish, rather than timing my attention so that it saves you from having to answer my question, right? So it encourages, an asking culture rather than a guessing culture has, connects to, it encourages a lack of attention and a lack of study, okay? Now, Sally Fields, coins coming out of her mouth, standing on a scale. Scalability. Scalability is an incredibly important word. It is a massively important word. You'll hear me talk a lot about it because I work in information technology, and we are constantly thinking about scalability. Any information technology person who is not thinking about scalability is not doing their job right, okay? But scalability is incredibly important even outside of the information technology world, okay? Scalability is the question of, okay, you did this one thing and it worked. Great, all right? But if everyone did what you did, would it break the system? Would it cause problems, right? And that's the problem with asking culture. If everybody asked whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted, it wouldn't be scalable, okay? It's not a scalable option. And askers are people who are saying, I'm more important than the rest of society. I can ask for what I want whenever I want it, whether it be information or some other request, right? And I don't need to span my attention to link up with when this data is there. I don't need to do a whole bunch of study and research. I don't need to, stress myself to do something that just asking a question could supply, right? And a lot of people get away with it most of the time because they're type A drivers, and they might have some other assets that let them get away with it. But generally, it's really not scalable, right? Whereas guessing is a scalable model. So I think that not asking questions is a scalable model, okay? Now, if there's something that you critically need, and you have done, and you have gone and tried to find this in a source where you can read it, okay? And it's something you can't do without, or that is incredibly important to you, then ask your question, right? But think before you ask, and realize that when you are asking anyone for anything, your question is carrying a piece of data with it, okay? It's a data call, it's a query for information, but you're giving information. That information is, I am ignorant, or I am lazy, or I am arrogant, or maybe there's an and between those things, right? Now, I'm going to put a little bit of a PS on this. So what's the problems with guessing, okay? With guessing, one of the things that can happen is you can make an assumption and you can be wrong, okay? But the reason why I like guessing rather than asking is generally I pay the price for that assumption rather than other people, right? And so there are some downsides to guessing, and and that's the biggest one. But overall, net, if you look at the whole thing by net, it's better to guess. It's better to realize that people's time is valuable, and that whenever you are asking a question, you are doing two things. You're taking something from someone, which is their time, right? And then the other thing you're doing is you're communicating to them, I am ignorant, or I am lazy, or I am arrogant, right? So that's my defense on not asking questions. Thank you.